The answer to the Cincinnati Reds problems? Well, it might just be an angel in the outfield.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. My name is Jeff Carr. His name is Steve Offenbaker, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans that have been podcasting for an age-old time, almost like 14 years, about the Cincinnati Reds. We're so glad that you're alongside us here today. Locked On Reds is, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every single day. And all throughout the offseason, we are going to be keeping you up to date on how the Reds are getting ready for the playoffs in 2025. And these winter meetings are the perfect spot for it. Rumors abound. We're going to get into maybe a good outfield solution for the Reds, a outfield trade rumor that I don't want the Reds to be involved with. And we're also going to look at a bit of a challenge because it feels like the Reds are talking a lot about adding more and more pitching. And Nick Lodolo is a perfect reason as to why. We'll explain a little bit later on. And then later on in the show, Dave Parker, former Red, is now a Hall of Famer. But his Hall of Fame candidacy raises a lot of interesting questions. We'll get to that later on in today's show, though. That's brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more over at FanDuel.com. New users can get $150 in bonus bets when they win their first $5 bet. Just head to FanDuel.com right now. All right, let's get started with this because as the winter meetings roll, so many rumors abound, whether it's the Reds being straightly involved in rumors or you hear rumors of other teams getting rid of players and things like this. Mark Feinsand wrote this, at least it was a tweet, on Tuesday morning saying that the Los Angeles Angels are close to trading outfielder Taylor Ward. They have a couple of offers on the table, and they feel as though they have the one that they want to accept. And Steve, that better be from Mr. Nicholas Kroll.
This is not a bad situation for the Reds to be in. I think you go after a Taylor Ward. You know, he's not an outfielder that at first glance is really going to knock your socks off. I mean, you're not going to, I talk about the press conference kind of deals, right? And I don't even know that he's a press conference kind of guy, although he's close. Plays outfield and can play some third base, believe it or not, because that's helpful to know going into this. But, 2.3 in WAR last year. That's nothing to sneeze at. 7.1 career WAR for this guy. He's a player that can give you around 240, 250 batting average right now. He's going to get on base 320 to 335, 340. And he can slug a little bit. I mean, he's not going to hit 40 home runs, but he hit 25 home runs last season for the Angels, and you extrapolate that a little bit at Great American Ballpark, he could get you to 30. He could maybe stumble his way into 35 if
well, given the right sort of opportunity. StatCast has that thing where it says if this player played in this ballpark, they would have had this many more homers. They said that if he played at Great American, he would have 35 home runs last year.
So yeah, I think this is a good signing. It would be a good trade. Would be a good guy to have around.
Yes.
Because you're going to obviously have to give something to get this player in return. And of the names that have been floated around out there for outfielders to trade for, I think this is one that from a prospect capital standpoint would be palatable. I think that it wouldn't completely break the farm system. You would still have enough left over to go find another deal or to go make another trade later, or continue to develop people as replacements coming up through the system. It wouldn't wipe everything out. I like this. I like this outfielder, Jeff. I think that he's very good against left-handers and not bad against right-handers. So he's not a platoon guy. You could play him every day, but he mashes lefties.
And I think that there are a couple of factors that make this a more palatable trade, being that this season he will turn 31 years old. So it's not as if the Reds are acquiring some young stud that hasn't even hit his prime yet. He's in the middle of his prime, but he's a solid player who's about to be 31 years old. Plus, he has 2 years of team control left. Spot Track, I was looking this up, Spot Track has him estimated around $8.5 million this season through arbitration. So you're not breaking the bank for him either. And I believe that compared to some of the other trade rumors out there, the Luis Roberts and another one that the Reds aren't linked to, but there is a team that is looking to get rid of an outfielder. I just don't know that the Reds could afford a trade for this guy in Kyle Tucker, but I definitely think that Taylor Ward would be the least cost prohibitive of all of the other trade options out there, but he would fit nicely into the lineup. I remember having a conversation off air with one of our Locked On Angels hosts, John Frisch. Locked On Angels is fantastic show with the brothers John and Mike Frisch, and John was talking about Taylor Ward. He's just like, man, he is the kind of guy that, and he actually really explained him in the same way that you just did. Like, he is not a marquee name, but he makes your outfield so much more complete and so much better being in it because he does everything. And it's not just the hitting side of things. He's a good defender as well, plus a defender when it comes to outs above average, and a positive defender when it comes to defensive runs saved over the last couple of years. Plus, StatCast likes his arm, gives his arm a good rating. So he's kind of the whole package in what we are looking for a outfielder to improve this outfield group that greatly would add some stability to it as well. That's where I like this one more than I like the Kyle Tucker rumors. And just to kind of preface that, the Astros are looking to reset their farm system. And Kyle Tucker is one of the best players in Major League Baseball. So they could do that by trading Kyle Tucker. I don't know that it should be the Reds that help them reset their farm system, though.
No, if you go out and you get Kyle Tucker, it's going to obliterate the farm system. And listen, I'm not prospect hugging here.
But yeah.
You would, I'm sorry, I missed that.
I said it makes the lineup amazing, but no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like it would cost.
It would cost everything. It would cost everybody. Like anybody that's a name in the Reds minor league system right now would have to be in this deal. I just finished saying that, for the deal with the Angels, you're getting a guy that put up 2.1 in WAR last year. If you go after Kyle Tucker, you're getting a guy that for 3 out of the last 4 seasons flirted with a 6 WAR. He's 5.7, 5.4, 5.4. Those are MVP level WARs at 6. Yep. Last year, he had a terrible year, Jeff. He fell all the way down to 4.7 in WAR, which is, above all-star level performance. To get this guy,
that's still the entire Reds outfield combined.
To get this guy would break the proverbial prospect capital bank. It would be it. It would be your one move. You can forget about an opportunity to re-sign him when the time comes. That's not going to happen. He's going to be way too expensive. So for me, as much as I would like to have Kyle Tucker in the Reds outfield, it just doesn't seem realistic to me. It doesn't leave the team any wiggle room. It doesn't leave them with any ability to re-sign this guy. And it basically, you're putting all your eggs in one basket to try and get to the promised land one time. And I that's way too much gambling for me. I mean, maybe you like that, Jeff. I don't know, but that's too much all in one place.
Like performance-wise for 1 year, it would be fantastic. He would be right there as the best hitter in this lineup, most likely. I mean, it'd be between him and Ellie and Matt McLean, and that would feel really good that we would have an argument amongst multiple people. He would also solidify the outfield group, make you feel a lot better about him. But yes, far too many prospects. And we're talking about a guy that's going to sign a deal after his team control years are done. He's going to sign a free agent deal that is like a couple $100 million. It's not going to rival Juan Soto in any stretch of the imagination, but we're probably talking $200 million. And I don't see the Reds doing that, at least not for a guy that they would only have for 1 year. So that's just not a good trade for me, that you would have to give up all those players and only get him for 1 year. So for me, I want Taylor Ward. I really hope that the Reds are in on this. And with Mark Feinsand reporting that the Angels are close to trading him, maybe we'll hear the Reds have an announcement here soon, because I do think there's something big-ish. I don't know that it's huge, but something big-ish coming.
All right, Jeff, as much as we know the team needs an outfielder, and I think the team knows that it needs an outfielder, we keep hearing them linked with pitching when it comes to bringing in more players. We keep hearing that the Reds are looking at pitching. And a big part of that is, I think, Nick Lodolo and the challenges he faces coming up in 2025. We're going to talk about Nick Lodolo and those challenges coming up next.
There's never a wrong time during any sports season to get a big return over at FanDuel, because right now new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. You don't have to be like that one guy. I remember hearing that there was a guy that bet $3 million on a game yesterday on the Eagles to beat the Panthers. That was crazy talk. You don't have to bet that. You know, just put $5 down. That's all you got to do. Plus, you can check out baseball futures. There's the NL pennant, the future for the NL pennant. The Red Sox actually got longer since Juan Soto went to the Mets. They are now 40-1 to win the National League. Look, they're gonna get better, and Terry Francona is gonna make them better. So look, that just seems juicy to me. I'm throwing a couple of bucks on that. Trust me, you should do it too over at FanDuel.com. Get a big payday today on your sports knowledge over at FanDuel. Make every moment more. They are an official sponsor of the NFL.
We're talking Reds baseball here today and every day, every week, every month, all off season, all regular season, spring training. We're there too. Hopefully postseason, we've got you covered. Make sure you are subscribed. Click that subscribe button, click that notification bell. You never want to miss an episode. And if you can't watch us here on YouTube, take us on the road with you. We're on all the audio feeds as well. Get 30 minutes at least of Reds talk every day from us right here at Locked On Reds. All right, Jeff, we keep hearing the Reds linked to pitching when it comes to potential trade deals, trade partners. And it has some people scratching their head. It has me a little miffed because outfield has been a need for multiple seasons now and it hasn't been addressed. But I think part of that is you have to look at what the Reds rotation did last season. You have to look at some of the situations the Reds found themselves in. Again, at one point, all 5 starters that were in the rotation on opening day at one point were either traded to Milwaukee or injured. And a team can't really recover from that type of loss all at one time. But in that group specifically, there's one guy I think that faces a little bit more of a challenge than just starting the season healthy. And that's Nick Lodolo, because it's very easy to say, well, if everybody's healthy coming out of opening day, the Reds are going to have this, and this is what the rotation is going to look like. And you make the list. But the fact is that Nick Lodolo has a unique kind of challenge with this injury that he keeps facing, because it sounds really silly, right, Jeff? Because we're talking about a major league athlete, a major league pitcher that has been sidelined multiple times now with a busted middle finger, a middle finger strain, a middle finger blister. And just because of how it has impacted how he grips his pitches, him being healthy is not necessarily a guarantee that he's going to be Nick Lodolo, if you know what I mean.
Right, and there were reports the other day that he has begun throwing off of a mound and doing bullpen sessions and stuff like that for the offseason, getting ready to ramp up for spring training and for the year. And that's fantastic. And hopefully we do get reports, as he's reporting to Goodyear, that he is fully healthy and ready to go. But yes, the health is a concern because it's a recurring injury. This is where, we talk about, and I like to rib you, that Matt McClain is injury prone. That's not what this is. This is a reoccurring injury that he will always have to deal with, because it is something he has to do, however many times he throws a curveball in a game, whether it's like 20, 30, whatever it is times. Like, he is always going to be working the finger that keeps getting hurt. And so with that, health is part of the question, but that's not the only answer. The other answer is, what happens when he is healthy? Because last year there were times where he dealt with the injury, where he dealt with blisters, where he dealt with, being off the field for a little bit. And then he would come back and you would watch him, and that breaking ball would be different. It'd be flatter. It would be not as effective. And without that breaking ball, Nick Lodolo is not the guy that we think he is. He needs that back foot breaker. He needs the breaker that he can drop into the zone at will to be the effective pitcher that we all know he can. Without it, his fastball is not good enough. His fastball has always been to set up the curveball, to set up the breaker, and get that out. I don't know what he is if he has to completely change his grip on that breaking ball, because it feels like he would have to relearn that pitch. And that, for me, is the biggest question here, is that, with the health question in mind, there's also what happens when he is healthy. And that is where my reservations are with Nick Lodolo. I've seen a lot of folks, whether it be on social media or whatever, talking to me about that. They're like, why are you so hard on Nick? And that's why. There's too many questions that I don't know I can safely say are answered in a quick manner.
Well, one of the things we're going to need from Nick Lodolo this offseason is to find a new grip and still have the pitch, right? You know, we saw him try a new grip last season, and it wasn't really there. I mean, it was a hittable pitch when he changed his grip. So, you know, and I talked to Chris Welsh about this. You know, he basically indicated that the blister thing is going to continue to be a problem. The only solution is to change the grip. And for me, you know, I want to go into the category, Jeff, that, you know, this is a professional baseball player. This is a major league pitcher. He's going to know what he has to do. Now, the question is he going to be able to go and execute this pitch? You know, I think he's young enough, and I think he's got the right people around him that he can do it. But again, it puts us in this hope category. Like, can we have one guy in this rotation that we don't have to preface with, I hope? You know, I hope he's healthy. I hope he can change his grip. I hope he's around. I hope he doesn't get hurt again. I hope he continue. Like, man, can I get one certainty, please? Just one certainty.
And it almost sounds as if maybe we are overplaying something about this, but there is empirical evidence as to how he changed, because his first 12 starts of the season up through June 23rd, he had an ERA of 2.96. Dude was pushing Hunter Green to be the ace of this staff. His next 9 starts, July 9th through August 22nd, before he was shut down for the rest of the year. His next 9 starts, he had a 7.54 ERA. And in 9 starts, he only threw 45 innings, so he barely reached 5 innings per start. And opposing hitters had an OPS of 797, almost an 800 OPS plus, almost an all-star level OPS, or not OPS plus, OPS. Almost an all-star level OPS against him. He was very human. He was Clark Kent to the Superman that he was in the first 12 starts of the season. And that is where our concerns lie. This isn't just like, you know, a bad stretch during the season and then he bounced back. This was a really horrible long stretch during the season, and then he was shut down for the rest of the year. And that's our last impression of him.
And we say change a grip. I mean, let's put it really into perspective. What he was trying to do last season was learn a new pitch at the major league level. Changing the grip is learning a new pitch. Even if it's still a curveball, you have to learn the feel. You have to learn how it's going to break. You have to get the command down. You have to do all those things. And this is why there's a tremendous illustration that Jeff just gave you of why you don't try and learn new pitches in season in the major leagues, because you're going to get rocked for a while. Yeah. This is why they work on these things in spring training. So my hope is that now that Nick Lodolo is throwing off a mound, that's the focus, right? The focus is to get the grip, to get the command, head into spring training and really be able to work on that thing so that you can hit the ground running. I'm not ready to give up on Nick Lodolo. I know there's a lot of people that already want to move him to the bullpen. There's a lot of people. I've seen the fragile tag that some of you guys are putting the fragile tag on him. I'm not there yet. This is kind of a fluky thing, and it happens. It happens to pitchers. There's still time for Nick Lodolo to sort this out. I'm not ready to give up on him. And it's not a Graham Ashcraft deal. This is not something where he has presented himself as just being better suited to be a couple innings guy out of the bullpen. That's not the deal with Nick Lodolo. He just needs to figure out the command of a new grip. And I think he can do that. I believe in Nick Lodolo. I think he can get there.
And I think too, to your point, like the reason that we are having questions about his effectiveness is that out pitch. You take away that out pitch, it doesn't matter if you go 1 time through the order, 3 times through the order, it doesn't matter. If you don't have an out pitch, you're not going any times through the order in Major League Baseball. So moving him to the bullpen doesn't fix this problem. You've got to fix this problem. And whether it is fixing the grip, making sure that the breaking ball works, or changing up the repertoire a little bit and being more of a fastball changeup guy, like something like that. I don't know what the answer is, but the answer has to be figured out for Nick Lodolo. And that is why you constantly hear Reds linked to adding more pitching, because in a world where they could add a Garrett Crochet to this rotation. You take all of the pressure off of Nick Lodolo. Say, you know what? If you're not done figuring this out by the end of February, by the end of spring training, then you still got time. You can work on it down in Louisville. You can get yourself set. You can get back to the form that you are most confident in. And then we've got Rhett Lauder. We've got Chase Burns and Chase Petty on the way. We've got Connor Phillips hopefully figuring some things out as well. But at the major league level, you've got 5 guys that you really trust. And then Nick Lodolo can kind of figure that thing out. He doesn't have to be leaned upon as hardly as he was. And that's why the Brady Singer trade was so important. And that's why bringing back Nick Martinez was so important, because before those two things happened, the Reds had no margin for error with Nick Lodolo. I think that when you look at this pitching staff, for me, adding another starting pitcher would be to minimize the margin for error with Nick Lodolo.
Yeah, because I still feel like they've already got their spare part for Nick Lodolo, which is why it's a little bit of a head scratcher for me that we keep being linked to the starting pitchers, because right now, as things stands, is Rhett Lauder. Right. That's your plug and play guy. That's your next man up. So I don't know, Jeff. I mean, the Crochet stuff would be fun. There's a lot of marketing opportunities there. You put like a section of rocking chairs in on Daisy's pitching and
crocheters,
the grannies for Garrett, or I don't know, but you got them out there, knit one, pearl twoing in the rock. I don't know. There's opportunities there. Like gives a whole new meaning to how they'll handle Senior Day out at Great American Ballpark. I'm just saying.
Free marketing advice notwithstanding, you can never have too much pitching. But Steve, let's change gears a little bit, because Dave Parker, former Cincinnati Reds player back in the 80s, was named by the Senior Era Committee to the Hall of Fame. But his appointment brings up some interesting questions about some other Reds that have yet to make it to Cooperstown. We'll talk about that next. If you cannot watch us on YouTube, you can follow us on every single podcasting app there is. Seriously, find one, look up Locked On Reds. We're there. You can listen to us in the car while you're working out, whatever it is. You don't have to always watch us on YouTube. We're on every podcasting app there is out there. All right, Steve, some great news at the onset of the winter meetings was that Dave Parker made it to the Hall of Fame, the Senior Era Committee. So you didn't get voted in by the writers after so long. I forget what the period of time is, but you get put on this like Senior Era Committee ballot that's a different group of people, and they have chosen him, and they also chose Dick Allen as the two representatives for the Hall of Fame this season. And I love the fact that he made it, but as you were pointing out, as we were kind of discussing this before the show started, he had a fine career, but if his career was good enough for the Hall of Fame, so are a couple of other Reds.
I'm going to make some people mad today, Jeff, and that's okay. And this is not.
If anybody's mad about Davey Concepción, come see me. We need to have a chat.
It's like this. Dave Parker, he's a very good baseball player. He spent 19 years in the big leagues. You don't do that and not be very good. But it's not a hall of very good. It's not a hall of you're a super nice guy. It's not a hall of you were able to make a lot of friends while you played your 19 years of Major League Baseball. It's the Hall of Fame. It's supposed to be the cream of the crop, the greatest of the great. Dave Parker in his career put up 40.1 in WAR spread between multiple teams. He played Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Oakland, Milwaukee, California, now Los Angeles, and Toronto to amass that 40.1 in WAR. You know who else has 40.1 exactly in WAR? The aforementioned Davey Concepción. And he's still not in the Hall of Fame. As a matter of fact, you look at Reds that are in this vicinity, just below would be George Foster at 39.5, not a Hall of Famer. And here's the one, and this is the one that really just gets me. because if we're going to talk about guys that should be in the Hall of Fame, and we're going to look at their WAR and lower the floor of where a Hall of Famer is, and I've always said that it should be 60, which is going to lead us to a conversation in just a minute. But if you're going to come down off of that, Votto Pinson, who by all accounts, for the people that watched him play, was a very, very good outfielder. 47.7 in WAR. So much more WAR than what Dave Parker put up. So I don't know what the intangible qualities were here that led to a Dave Parker pick over other guys like that. You look at Dave Parker's career numbers, Jeff. Again, they're very good, but they're not knock your socks off. Career WAR, again, 40.1. You look at his total hits in 19 big league seasons, 2,712. You look at his career home runs, 339. Again, these are very good numbers, but it's not 500 home runs. He didn't reach 3,000 hits. By any measurable historical standard of guys that have gotten into the Hall, Dave Parker falls just short in these categories. And yet he kind of cuts the line and jumps ahead of dudes that you can make strong arguments for them being in the Hall of Fame already. So I have nothing against Dave Parker, and I've been at events where he has been, and he's a wonderful human being, a super nice guy. But I question the timing of this, and I question, why Dave Parker, why now, when there's these other guys out there that should be in the Hall if you're going to use the statistics that Dave Parker put up in his career.
And that's kind of what I meant about, if you're going to look at this and then say, well, Davey Concepción, but Davey Concepción's career, I mean, who won more World Series, Davey Concepción or Dave Parker? I don't actually know that question. Let me look that up. But yeah,
you should always, it's like being in court, Jeff. You're a lawyer. You should always know the answer to the question before
I bring that up. Yeah. But I find this intriguing because Baseball Reference has a lot of different things that they use for Hall of Fame statistics. They have the black ink, the gray ink, Hall of Fame monitor, Hall of Fame standards. All of those say, yes, he's a Hall of Famer. But then you have JAWS, which is like the career WAR comparison to Hall of Famers. The average Hall of Famer career for a right fielder, 71.1 career WAR. Average right fielder. The average right fielder's 7-year peak WAR is 42. And Dave Parker's was 37 in his peak time during his career. His the JAWS is 56.7 for the average Hall of Fame right fielder. Dave Parker's was 38.8. So there's a lot of numbers here. And I think that there's going to be a group that says, but the eye test and that and moments and this and that, it's not a Hall of moments. And it's not a Hall of very good looks. There's so much more that goes into that, which all brings me to the point that everybody's going to love. And I know you agree with me on this, but Joseph Daniel Votto is for sure a Hall of Famer if Dave Parker's getting in. In fact, I dare say he's a first ballot Hall of Famer if Dave Parker is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Joey Votto's career WAR 64.5. So more than, about 25 points higher than what Dave Parker put up. I want to crystallize something here that you just said. The average WAR for a right fielder, the difference between the average WAR for a Hall of Fame right fielder and Dave Parker is 30-something WAR. Math on the fly.
31 WAR, yeah. 31
that WAR, listen, that WAR, Jeff, that is the totality of the WAR that Frank Robinson put up just in his Baltimore Oriole years. Just that. Frank Robinson basically had 2 Hall of Fame careers if you want to look at 40 WAR as being the floor for the Hall of Fame. 40 can't be. Someone's going to have to give me a tutorial and explain this to me because I don't get it. And I know this feels like a personal attack on Dave Parker, and it's not. It's really not. I think he's a great guy, but I can't wrap my head around how this happened. Yeah. How this happened with so many other players with better performances that are still kind of languishing out there. I don't get it.
And some other players that have been completely erased from Hall of Fame thought for one reason or another. I don't know. I'm with you. I think that his career he had a great career. And I know that I've heard a lot of folks talking over the last few days since the news broke. He was really one of the first true 5-tool players that they can remember ever seeing and things like that. But I don't like all of that adds up to still me questioning, where's George Foster? Where's Veda Penson? Where's Davey Concepcion? And Joey Votto better well be in Cooperstown as soon as he's eligible.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jeff, I think we should probably stop before we're going to get ourselves in trouble.
We like Dave Parker. We just want to put that out there. We like Dave Parker.
We really do. We like Dave Parker. It's just, someone's going to have to explain to me. Get in the comments. If you've got a good answer for this, please, by all means, get in the comments, get on social media. Let us know what you think. But that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Reds. Thanks so much for making Locked On Reds your first listen every single day. Now go make Sully over at Locked On MLB your second listen. He's got you covered on national baseball news. Super funny guy, super smart guy. He'll have you covered on all of the offseason happenings that are going on around the rest of the league. He's also part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. We'll be back in your feeds tomorrow, hopefully with some winter meeting news. Come on, Nick. We're waiting. Let's go. Clock is ticking. Get us an outfielder. We will be in your feeds if news breaks. We will be in your feeds tomorrow, hopefully keeping you updated on those winter meeting happenings. Until then, we will gather up all the news, all the rumors, all the information. We'll bring it right back here to keep you locked on Reds every single day.
We talked a lot about war. Does that make us warmongers?
War.
What is it good for?